Hello there, people of the internet. Today I've got this that I want to look at. This is a super worn out car 88 that I had picked up from RTI probably about a month ago at this point. It's just kind of been sitting. I haven't really done anything with it just because I have been astronomically busy with a good number of other projects. But I decided to go ahead and take some time, sit down, make a video, look over this thing. For all intents and purposes, this is a wall hanger. The amount of money that I spent on this rifle absolutely was worth it, but this thing is in rough shape. So RTI, they tend, like, we all already tend to know that RTI sells things that are in not great shape. And that's because of the storage conditions that a lot of these rifles that were left in overseas, over in Africa, they were just kind of left in a barn for like 100 years. And a lot of them are super grody, super worn, super rusty, not in the best of shape. And this is one of those examples of a rifle that is really not in the best of shape. But a Car 88 is a really unusual and rare rifle to find, and whenever I saw that they had one, even though this is definitely not in the greatest of condition, I decided to go ahead, bite the bullet, and get one of these into the collection. Like I said, wall hanger. We will take this out and shoot it, but we're not going to get any real significant results with it. So a couple of things with this particular Car 88. Actually, let me give a little bit of history behind these rifles before I start talking about this particular one. I'm looking over here on my wall of many guns because I am trying to find... Oh, is this it? This might be it. Haha, this is it. So way back in the day, Germany was doing what basically every other country was doing, and they were rocking super long, what's the word I'm looking for? Super long, large caliber, black powder, repeating rifles, and a lot of countries were doing this at this particular time. Like, the French had their Gras rifles and their Kropatschek rifles, and just the Steyr had their own 11mm rifle. I think it was the 1888 where they were running those, or maybe it was the 1886. At some point in time, they were rocking big bore black powder guns. But Germany was rocking big bore black powder guns, and they were trying to get repeating rifles like the French had, because the French developed the 8mm Lebel, and that right there was a smokeless powder rifle versus the old school black powder rifle designs. So Germany more or less rushed to try and make the best possible rifle by finding a combination of basically what everybody else was doing, throwing them all into one rifle, and they made the Commission 88 rifles. What these were they were long rifles that had like a barrel jacket over them, completely unnecessary if you ask me. They held, I think it was 5 rounds of 8mm Mauser, the old school style of 8mm Mauser, and they fed with a Mannlicher style in-block clip versus the Mauser style stripper clips that we all associate with Mauser style actions. So the Commission 88 rifle, it was pretty cutting edge for that particular time period, because the other, like its competition, the 8mm Lebel, had like a tube-fed magazine that you had to feed one particular round at a time into that tube-fed magazine, versus the Commission 88 rifle, which could be loaded really, really quickly. Well, those Commission 88 rifles replaced these, the Mauser 71 and 7184 patterns of Mauser. These are the old school, big bore, black powder bolt action rifles that they were using up until the adoption of the Commission 88 rifles. Well, Germany had seen that the Commission 88 rifles were super, super long, and so they ended up adopting rifles for both cavalry use, cavalry, however that word is pronounced. For the dudes on horseback, they also adopted another pattern of these rifles that was specifically intended for artillerymen, cooks, like people who needed a rifle but weren't dealing with horses, and they made two different models of these rifles specifically because one model was designed for sticking into the scabbard on a horse, and one rifle was designed with stacking rods to where you can stack the rifles on top of one another in kind of a TP fashion, and it would keep them off of the ground. Well, what we have here, I believe, kind of hard to tell because these rifles came out of Ethiopia and there's some hardware missing on this. I believe that this right here is the cavalry one, the one that was specifically designed for people working with horses. And I say that because I don't see a spot for a stacking anything, stacking rods, stacking swivel. Like, there's nothing on this rifle that tells me, hey, this right here is for the people who were not working with horses. So this is, I'm just going to go ahead and say this is a cavalry model. So it's basically identical in terms of functionality to the Commission 88 rifles. These still had the in-block 5-round stripper, or not stripper clips, the in-block 5-round loading clip system that a lot of your Mannlicher style rifles had. Still chambered in 8mm Mauser, still the old school style of 8mm Mauser, unless you find certain markings on the rifle that indicate otherwise, which I do not see on this particular rifle. So, as far as this particular rifle goes, it's a smooth bore. There is nothing left inside of this bore. Like, it's a 33 caliber at this point with just how absolutely corroded the internals of this rifle are. The magazine works, and this bolt was actually not included with the rifle. I just so happen to have a Car 88 bolts, and I've been waiting for a Car 88 without a bolt to pop up at a reasonable price, so I went ahead and I stuck this in. The thing is, the internals of this rifle are corroded and rusty and not great, and as a result of that, this bolt is nice and sticky, and I definitely have to get in there and clean this thing up a little bit to make that a little bit easier to cycle. I also got to clean up the chamber, and I got to clean up the barrel. Although there's no rifling left inside of the barrel, I still want to go ahead and clean that up before we go firing projectiles through it. No way in hell this rifle's going to be accurate. No way in hell it's not going to keyhole. There's literally no rifling left inside of this rifle. So we're basically just going to take this out and function test it just to get footage of me shooting a Car 88 on the channel, because why not? I feel like that would be fun. I don't have a clip for any of my Commission 88 rifles. I could probably hunt one down, but I've just kind of been single loading these rifles because that seems to work well enough. This right here is not a control feed system, so that should be fine. But I gotta clean up this chamber before I decide to do anything with it. As far as this rifle itself goes, the wood is torn up, and I'm definitely not going to be firing full power 8mm Mauser ammunition through this rifle at all. Our recoil lug back here, we have 2 cracks in it that basically go the entire length of the stock. So I'm going to want to keep an eye on that. You can see the 2 cracks on our recoil lug right there. How about this side? Alright, no cracks on this side. Our stock itself looks like the actual toe of the stock broke off, and that's very common for these old school styles of rifle. I mean, this damn gun's 150 years old at this point, so that right there broke off, and then at some point during its life, somebody kind of took some nails and hammered it back on, probably so they could keep using it. The wood on this is so insanely worn. And this is worn from use. This isn't worn from sitting, because this right here is where our sling attaches to the rifle, and just rubbing on the wood, the sling rubbing on the wood on repeat for who knows how long is what wore this down. That's not wear and tear from sitting inside of a warehouse. That's wear and tear from actual use. So our butt plate itself is very loose, and I tried tightening it, but it turns out that our top screw here is completely stripped and basically just kind of hanging out there, and our bottom screw isn't even a screw. It looks like a piece of baling wire that was turned into a nail to kind of hold this together, and that's our butt plate. So all in all, this rifle's also missing a rear sight, and if this rifle was going to be accurate, I'm sure that would hinder the accuracy, but there's literally no rifling left inside of this rifle. Like, the entire barrel is just dunes and valleys. It is corroded beyond belief, and beyond reason. So we are not going to get any accuracy out of this rifle, and because of that, I really don't care that there's not a rear sight on it. The main reason why I got this is for representation purposes of an early carbine used by European forces, and this right here is a really, really good example of exactly that. I'm probably going to clean this up a little bit. I doubt that I'll refinish it just because the metal's all pitted and scratched up and banged up and whatnot. And there's no point in trying to refinish the wood because the wood is all tore up, and this rifle has definitely seen better days. But all of that being said, it's still a Car 88, and it's still a Car 88 that I have in my collection, and I'm willing to bet that once I get the internals cleaned up a little bit, it'll probably fire and go bang. It will not be accurate, but it'll probably fire and go bang. And that will be really, really fun to see. So I guess we'll just have to hang out and wait for part 2. I'm going to go ahead and set this down because it is just getting my hands absolutely filthy. Desperately needs cleaned. That is on the to-do list. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.